Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hello, and welcome back, Woo Crew, to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and I am here today for another solo episode. And being the time of year that it is, and with Restmas just around the corner, I wanted to speak to a little bit of what led me to create Restmas in the first place, a little bit of why I think it is such an important time to slow down, to reconnect with our bodies, with our communities, with our rest practices, and why it can be such a potent time to do so. When I first came to this new career path of guiding women home to themselves, to their bodies, to the earth, of stepping into being an intuitive life coach and an energy healer, long before I found the title of witch, I suppose, or it found me, or I remembered it. I think that's a better word, remembered it. I had this calling to offer some stillness amidst the chaos. Christmas, and I'm going to say Christmas because we are in a society that is still largely founded on Christian holidays. That being said, if you don't abide by or follow or celebrate Christmas, the holiday season is busy, is chaotic. And the reason I'm going to use Christmas in this episode is because it's Christmas that is the underpinning for a lot of the busy, the chaos, the pressure, and the consumerism that goes along with this time. I will be the first to admit I am not super familiar with other traditions. I know that there is gift giving involved in Hanukkah, and so that certainly is potentially informing the way that these holidays feel for you as well. And I know there are various different celebrations and various different cultural traditions that happen around this time. Unsurprisingly, because the winter solstice occurs on the 21st. And so there's all sorts of significance for our ancestors pre-modernity to this time of year, to celebrating the fact that we've reached that shortest day of the year, the longest night, and that from that point moving forward, the days will get longer. So whether you're a Christian or not, whether you are of a different faith and practicing and celebrating those holiday traditions or not, I'm going to go out on a limb and hazard that if you live in North America, I am going to assume that you get swept up in the holiday frenzy. And for this episode, I'm going to speak about Christmas specifically because Restmas, because so many of the traditions that put added stress and strain on us, or that we allow to cause us added stress and strain, are stemming directly from some of those Christmas specific traditions. I meant to go on to the internet before I started recording and just look up the history of gift giving. I know that it goes deep, it goes way back, and not in the consumerist capitalist way that we experience it now. I remember when I was a kid, when I was quite young, I was always allowed to pick 3 things for Christmas around the $20 mark. And my parents always got me more than that. And gift giving is definitely one of my mother's love languages. It's one of my top love languages as well. And I do look back and recognize that I was very privileged to receive the gifts that I did receive, a stocking full of little trinkets and books and things and Christmas gifts under the tree. And I remember by the time my sister came along, the gift giving had gotten more extravagant. There was a lot of stuff and I loved it. I was a kid. I thought it was the most exciting thing to come downstairs to a whole bunch of presents. And now with my nephews, watching them on Christmas morning, the overwhelming amount of stuff, of plastic, I'm going to just say it, junk that they receive, they can barely absorb all of it, right? There's so much that by the end of the day, they're just zombies ready to snap and they don't remember what they've gotten. And none of it's all that special at the end of it because there's been so much volume. It's really unnecessary. And it gets me thinking about the pressure that we put on ourselves if we are mothers. And so I say I am not a mother, as you'll know if you've been with me for very long, but I watch this happen with my own mother, with my sister, with my clients, with, my friends. There's so much pressure to create magic for our kiddos at this time of year. And part of that creation often feels like it needs to be getting them the best gifts, even though they often don't even know it's coming from you. If you do Santa, if you still do Santa, then they aren't even aware that it's you bringing them those gifts. And I just want to acknowledge how hard it is to walk that line with kiddos because they're also submerged in this culture of consumerism where they're going to go to school after the Christmas break and hear about all of the things that their friends got, and that if you didn't live up to their Santa expectations, there will be disappointment there, perhaps, if they're old enough to recognize that. So I'm not here to solve this problem. I will say I think Elf on the Shelf is creepy AF. Just going to drop that there. That might cause some controversy. Again, if you've been with me for very long, you'll know that I hold no judgment. If that's something you practice, perhaps you've never thought about it the way I do. It feels a little bit like a spy state, right? Like this thing on your wall watching every move. Yeah. That kind of always watching Big Brother thing for your kids from an early age. It feels a little bit, I don't know. Anyways, there's lots of people who've weighed in on this far more eloquently than I am in this moment. And again, I recognize that there's fun to it too. I know parents who do it and their kiddos are like, "Where's the elf today?" And it gets to be really exciting. So I think there's both and there. And it's like, even as a kid, I was a bit creeped out by the lyrics to some of the Christmas carols. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. I was like, this is not okay. And the love that's showered on me at this time and whether or not I receive gifts, I always felt like it was unfair that I had to toe the line constantly and suppress who I am. And so I think there's a difference between encouraging kiddos to, work their best to be responsible and to say please and thank you and, all of that. And kids are kids and they need to be able to express themselves without fear of repercussions in a safe space where we can hold their big emotions, where we can help them understand their actions and when they are appropriate and when they aren't, but also not remove love from them if they do something that's out of line. So yeah, and not that gifts equal love either, because obviously they do not, unless it's your love language. and still not. I love the idea of slightly more meaningful or thoughtful gifts. I have a friend who doesn't do gifts for birthdays. She doesn't do gifts for Christmas. What she does do is if she sees something that she knows a friend needs, like it makes her think of them, it makes it like it's something that they would absolutely adore, she gets it for them without a reason. And I think that sort of meaningful, like, oh, I saw this, I thought of you, I got it for you, is so much more, in a lot of ways, generous than this, oh, it's that time of year where we have to buy gifts for each other. And then you have to rack your brain for what to get and what to give. And then you have to be polite when you receive gifts that maybe you don't want or you would never have bought for yourself and you might not use. And yeah, anyways, this is really rambling, really roundabout. I'd be really curious to hear how you feel about this consumerist holiday. Wherever you stand on gifts, as I said, gift giving is one of my love languages. So I do love receiving gifts and giving gifts. And I've always really enjoyed taking time to really think about what would light somebody up and be really, really well received. And so I love this time of year because I love giving people gifts. And I also really love getting together with folks. I love gathering with family. I love eating all the extra fatty foods. I love the baked goods. I love that it's a time of year where I am motivated to actually bake foods or make foods I might otherwise not. And that comes with added stress. So I know that for many women, creating the magic of the season falls to us, right? It falls to us to make the decisions about what to buy everybody in our family. I got messages from my sister and my mom today, or in the last week. What can we get for Greg? So not only do I have to figure out what I'm getting for Greg, I also have to figure out what they're getting for Greg. And I know I'm not the only one who then also has to turn around and say, okay, well, and what is Greg getting for my sister and her partner and my parents? So that's an added piece of decision fatigue. If you're struggling with decision fatigue, grab my intuitive decision making mini course. It's so worth investing a little bit of time in being able to make those decisions more easily, using your intuition, using intuitive tools, taking some of that decision fatigue off of your brain for this season. The other thing that is so important and I feel like lacking in this time of year is for you as a woman, as potentially a mom, as a partner, just as a person, a human being in the society, is to be able to slow down and experience the magic again. I found myself in the last few years really noticing that I'm missing the magic. I'm missing the stillness, the moments. As a midwife, I was often on call for part of Christmas, and that was really hard because I wanted to just be able to unplug and go to Canmore, which I'm lucky enough to have parents that live in Canmore still. I was born and raised there, and just really take some time off, unplugged, present with family. But even just leading up to Christmas, being able to slow down and really indulge in those traditions, right? Those traditions of perhaps going out to find a tree if you do that, or putting up the tree and decorating it, of baking the cookies that grandma always baked, doing these things with your kids if you have them, and really being able to carve some time to appreciate it. So I created Restmas. We came full circle. I created Restmas because I felt like I needed a prompt, a daily reminder to pause, to notice the shifting of the seasons, to enjoy the magic that is present, to root into the connection with my lineage. It's a really good time for connecting with ritual, right? We often have family rituals and traditions and routines that get passed down from our grandmothers and great grandmothers and our families in general, because it is one of the few times of year that does have some ritual significance still really woven into it. But it's easy to forget or to feel like it's just a hassle. And so slowing down every day with a micro rest practice and moment to really root into that magic and joy that this time of year can bring, and focusing more on the quality time spent with others than on the things and the house doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to be spotless. The Cookies don't have to be cookie cuttered and decorated. They could just be pressed down with a fork. I always only press my shortbread down with a fork. Roll a little ball, press it with a fork. That is enough work for me. And maybe you really enjoy putting in those extra bits of time and detail. And obviously, follow the spark or the joy. But this practice of slowing down for 21 days, and this year incorporating some guided rest practices that are live. They will, of course, be recorded. Just the audio will go out because it's going to be real rest practices. The idea being to cultivate just a little bit more safety in rest in your body through this season, to bring your nervous system back down so that you can navigate the heightened emotions of kiddos, a little extra sugar going into them often. You can navigate maybe the heightened emotions and tension around that family dinner table around Christmas time. Maybe your mother-in-law feels like if every single detail isn't perfect, Christmas is ruined, and you tend to take on some of that. If that's the case, this practice is going to be really, really helpful for rooting you, for anchoring you, for slowing you down, for giving you space and spaciousness in your days, even when it feels like they're too full. That's part of the beauty of the work that I do with folks, with women, is help you create time seemingly out of thin air. I still feel like it's too good to be true. And yet, I live it. When I practice what I preach, I live it daily. My clients live it daily. And I would so love, if you haven't signed up yet for Restmas, I would love to have you join us in there. It is completely free, 21 days of guided rest practices delivered to your inbox. Nothing should take you, well, with the exception of 1 or 2 days, which I time for the weekends, nothing should take you more than about 10 minutes to weave into your day. The live guided rest practice, the first one, is going to happen on December 1st. It's a Sunday evening. And then there's 3 more on offer along with the Yule ceremony. That's a bit of an upgraded experience. It's $37 to have all 4 of the guided rest practices and an invitation to celebrate Yule on the 20th. That's virtual or in person if you're in Calgary. And I get really excited about Yule. It's such a sacred time of year to revel in the rest and the dark. Our bodies are supposed to be slowing down right now. We're supposed to be sleeping more, sleeping in later, waking up or going to bed earlier. There's less light, there's less energy. It's cold. We're conserving ourselves, and we're gathering together to bring light to the long, dark hours. So these are some of the themes, the vibes that I'm playing with as we move towards the Yule ceremony, as we move towards Restmas. It begins this Sunday. If you're listening to this after Sunday, before the 21st of December, you can still join. You can get all 21 days of rest practices on December 21st if you would like. So would love for you to join me. Also, would love if you are feeling the call to explore what it looks like to step into the new year in a supported way with more time for you. I have space for 2 more souls to step through the portal with me in December. If you're at all curious, let's hop on a call. There is no pressure on these calls. I genuinely want to know where you're at, what your struggles are, if I can support you in any way. You'll leave with some really tangible practices, regardless what you decide in terms of wanting more support from me, or if perhaps there's another person that I know who could support you where you're at better. Okay, this feels a little disjointed because I got interrupted twice and couldn't remember where I was, but I hope you're still here with me. I hope you've signed up for Restmas. I have a mission to have 150 women inside of Restmas with us. As of recording, we've got 60 people with us in there. So this is a totally doable goal. If you've signed up already, invite a friend. Every one of us could use a little more ease, a little more rest, a little more spaciousness in the winter season, and a little bit more presence and joy, a little less concern about the details and making it look pretty and perfect on the surface. Okay. Thank you so much for listening, Woo Crew. I hope this all made sense. I hope it flows in a way that works. And as always, if you like this episode and you haven't yet done so, please leave a rating and a review. It helps ever so much to get the podcast discovered by other beautiful souls like yourself. And I will be back here with you this time next week. Bye for now.